Some battles are remembered for victory. Passchendaele would instead become remembered for mud, suffering, and an almost unimaginable human cost. Here soldiers did not simply fight the enemy. They fought water, exhaustion, artillery, cold, and ground that could swallow them alive. The battlefield lay east of Ypres, where Allied positions formed a dangerous salient, surrounded by strong German defensive lines.
British commander Douglas Haig hoped an offensive here could break German defences and eventually threaten enemy positions along the Belgian coast.
But the Germans had transformed this landscape into a layered defensive system of trenches, machine guns, artillery positions, and reinforced concrete strongpoints. Before the infantry attacked, British artillery unleashed an enormous bombardment, attempting to destroy German positions and open a path forward. But artillery also destroyed the drainage system. When rain arrived, water had nowhere to escape from the shattered battlefield. On July 31st, 1917, British and Allied soldiers climbed from their trenches. The Third Battle of Ypres had begun.
The opening assault gained ground in several areas, but the breakthrough British commanders wanted remained frustratingly beyond reach. Then the weather turned. Heavy rain fell across Flanders, transforming damaged soil into a vast and increasingly dangerous swamp.
Every step became exhausting. Soldiers carrying rifles, ammunition, and equipment could suddenly sink deep into mud with almost no warning. Horses, wagons, and artillery faced the same nightmare. Moving supplies toward the front became an exhausting battle of its own. For wounded soldiers, evacuation could take hours. Stretcher bearers struggled across narrow tracks while shells continued falling around them.
Calm defenders watched attackers moving slowly across exposed ground, then opened fire from machine gun positions protected inside concrete strongpoints.
Through August, repeated attacks continued, but resistance, rain, and mounting casualties steadily drained momentum from the offensive.
British commanders changed tactics. Instead of seeking one dramatic breakthrough, future attacks would capture smaller objectives and hold them.
The method became known as bite and hold. Take limited ground, secure it quickly, then destroy German counterattacks.
At Menin Road in September, the new approach worked better. Infantry advanced behind artillery and quickly consolidated captured positions.
At Polygon Wood, Allied troops advanced again. For a short time, careful planning appeared to restore momentum. At Broadside, in early October, another successful attack gained important ground and inflicted serious losses on German forces.
But the improvement did not last. Rain returned, roads deteriorated, and the battlefield once again became almost impossible to cross.
At Pol Capelle, mud disrupted formations, artillery support, and communications. Limited progress came at an increasingly painful price. On October 12th, Australian, New Zealand and British troops attacked toward Passchendaele, across ground already destroyed beyond recognition.
The attack failed to secure its major objectives. Passchendaele Ridge remained in German hands, while casualties continued rising.
After months of fighting, the ruined village of Passchendaele became the final major objective of the campaign.
In mid-October, the Canadian Corps entered the battlefield. Even experienced veterans were shocked by what they found.
Canadian commander and staff officers Arthur Currie believed capturing the ridge would demand an enormous sacrifice. But orders to continue eventually remained. Before attacking, Canadian engineers repaired roads, built tracks, and prepared routes needed to move artillery, ammunition, and soldiers forward. Wooden duckboards became lifelines. A single wrong step could throw a heavily equipped soldier into deep, exhausting mud. Guns were positioned, ammunition stockpiled, and objectives carefully studied. The Canadians planned to advance in controlled stages.
On October 26th, the Canadian assault began, targeting a sequence of positions leading gradually toward Passchendaele Ridge. Progress was measured in hundreds of meters. Every soldier, weapon and supply box had to fight against the terrain.
German pillboxes remained deadly. Small Canadian groups worked around strongpoints, isolating defenders before pushing farther forward.
Another attack followed on October 30th. Again, limited ground was captured before soldiers stopped and strengthened their new positions. Another attack followed on October 30th. Again, limited ground was captured before soldiers stopped and strengthened their new positions. Between attacks, soldiers waited in wet trenches, carried supplies through darkness, and endured relentless artillery fire. On November 6th, Canadian troops began the decisive attack toward the ruins of Passchendaele village itself.
Further fighting secured additional ground along the ridge. The long and brutal campaign was finally approaching its end. The Allies had advanced, but the great strategic breakthrough envisioned at the beginning of the offensive had never arrived.
Across the wider campaign, hundreds of thousands of soldiers on both sides became casualties of the fighting.
Passchendaele later became a powerful symbol for critics who questioned the decisions of First World War commanders. Yet the Belgian coast remained distant, and the sweeping strategic victory expected months earlier had not been achieved. Passchendaele became remembered through one haunting image: exhausted men surrounded by shattered trees, rain, shell holes, and endless mud. Today, peaceful fields and military cemeteries make the destruction of 1917 almost impossible to imagine.
Historians still debate Passchendaele, but the sacrifice endured by ordinary soldiers is impossible to debate.
Passchendaele remains a warning that sometimes the true cost of an objective is measured not in miles, but in lives.